And with that, friends, we are going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today for a de novo webinar. This is something we're excited to go through. This is part of our market research initiatives that we've been doing. This first one that we are going to cover today talks about the attitudes towards AI. Before we even get too far into the weeds, I want to go through our agenda, just covering what we're going to cover. This will be roughly 45 minutes or so, so we'll have some time at the end for questions as well. We'll do a brief introduction about why de novo is doing this, who de novo is, do some survey overview information with Kim, talk a little bit about what generative AI is, which is what we did this market research around, then go through the quiz that we have in our survey, and then talk about the results of the survey. And at the end, no one is being quizzed on this, but if you are, we want to give you a page of key takeaways that you can take back to your team and share with everyone on your teams. So first, my name is Ryan Schenefeld. I'm the head of digital here at de novo. And joining me today, your co-host, your host, is Kim Bowie. She's our digital marketing coordinator who handled all of the market research for this. I'm going to flip it over to her in a few more slides and let her get into the fun stuff. But until then, you've got me. But before we even talk about it, I just want to make sure you are aware of who de novo is. Not only did we put out this market research, but de novo is a full service marketing agency located in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We work with companies all throughout the Midwest and the nation. And being full service, that means that we have graphic designers, web developers, videographers. We do it all, from marketing strategy to digital strategy and advertising to web design, creative development. We do a lot of things. And sometimes we need to leverage AI in order to make things more affordable for our clients, do some heavy lifting on areas that we need some support. And we were curious, what do consumers think about AI usage when it comes to AI in marketing? We were just curious those attitudes towards AI. So we put this market research out into the field just to gather people's opinions on how they feel about it. We were curious. We had a hunch, and our hypothesis was that authenticity matters. And we wanted to prove or disprove that so we know going forward. And a little spoiler, authenticity does matter. It matters. But we also learned that AI detection can be hard, right? That can be hard and it can be difficult. So we dove into that a little bit more, and we're really curious about understanding the tolerance for and the credibility of AI. Human creativity is de novo's guiding light. It's our North Star. So this is not a survey saying that, oh yeah, we can use AI for everything. We don't have to have graphic designers, videographers, etc. No. AI is trained on everything that happened before it. It's not forward thinking, and the work that we do and great marketers do is forward thinking. It's pushing the envelope. Again, I mentioned that de novo works with companies all throughout the Midwest, and we were curious. We wanted to keep this as geared towards the Midwest as possible. We know that opinions of AI will be different in California, they'll be different in Virginia, New York, than they are here in Iowa and the Midwest. So we wanted to gear this towards our Midwestern audience. And if you are in this room expecting a webinar on how to use AI, please stick around, but that is not what this webinar will be on. Today, we are talking about audience insights and audience feelings and attitudes towards AI. And as I noted at the beginning, we are recording this, so you will get a video recording of this to share with your team. You will also get the deck if you don't want to hear me talking, hear Kim going through it. And then we'll also give you the dashboard that we pulled some of these insights from. The dashboard is a great way for you to guide your own pace, look at the questions, look at the responses from the survey, and actually do some toggling and changing. Really a live dashboard for you to adjust and view at your own pleasure. Okay, so now I'm going to flip it to Kim, and she's going to talk a little bit more about the survey.
Yeah, so before we dive into the results, we're just going to go over a overview of what we will be talking about. On the survey, we had over 540 respondents. We also asked the respondents if they were in the marketing, advertising, or tech industry. And if they were, we categorized them as marketers, and those who said no are non-marketers. So you'll see that we'll do some comparisons between the two groups throughout the results. Following, we have a quiz that we put within the survey where we asked respondents if they could determine whether the photo was AI or not. Ryan has a little fun quiz for you guys too. We also talk about where do people see AI, how do they feel about it, and what kind of AI content was it, and what this all means for brands. So now I'm going to pass it to Ryan to go over generative AI.
Yes, and this piece, AI as a whole gets summarized into just AI. For today's intent and purpose, and for the webinar today, we're mainly going to be talking about generative AI. And generative AI is AI that is used to generate images, videos, audio, or text. So examples of that. These are ones that you're most likely familiar with. You hear a lot. So ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, Gemini, etc. Then there's image generation like DALL-E and Midjourney. Although those have kind of been swallowed up by ChatGPT and Gemini as they've created their own. And then 11 Labs that it generates audio, which is pretty interesting. Now this is different than predictive AI. Predictive AI is AI that has been around for quite a few years. And this is things like your spam filters on your email, Google Analytics on your website, how it will project website traffic. It's not based on the live traffic on your site, but they make some projections, as well as customer lifetime value predictions that your CRM might do. And in addition to just covering generative AI, we asked everyone at the start of our survey, what is your awareness level of AI? And you can see here, we've got almost 90% somewhat familiar or very familiar. Not many at all. I think we might have 0.5% who took our survey and also said not familiar at all. And about 7% in that I've heard of it, but I don't know a whole lot about it in that space. So just wanted to give a heads up. We're talking generative AI today for today's webinar.
Okay, so before the quiz, we asked a few introductory questions just to gauge on if people were able to discern AI from human created content. So respondents were asked if they could tell between AI generated content and human created content, following with what were signs and clues that they look for. So you can see in this pie chart that a majority of people say yes, that they can determine whether the photo is AI or not. And this shows a lot of confidence. Signs or clues that these respondents typically look for were if the language was too robotic, it lacked soul, it was too perfect, or if the writing itself had some discrepancies, bolded words, and for visual content, usually something wrong with the image. It's too smooth, or there was a discrepancy in maybe a face or a human part or something like that. So lots of different ways of people how they can tell between AI or not. Now, we also broke this down between the marketers and non-marketers. Like I discussed earlier with our breakdown, we see that marketers are highly confident. About 90% say that they can determine if the photo was AI. And non-marketers are less confident, more on that 50-50 side, with majority saying not sure or no. So this just shows that there is a big difference between the two groups, and we'll learn more about that throughout the quiz and the results. But now I'll pass this to Ryan to give you guys a quiz.
So before we dig into the results, Kim mentioned we had a bunch of questions. We asked questions prior to the quiz, but one of the things we really wanted to do on this survey was test people. We wanted to see, sure, people might think that they can discern if something is AI or not. We wanted to actually we wanted to put it to the test. We wanted to see. And if you were somebody who took our survey, you're going to be doing the quiz again. But I want to go through the actual quiz. We have 4 images, and I'm curious. So while you're here, while you're enjoying lunch, I want you to look at these images. We're going to go through each of these, and I'm going to give you the result right after this. So take a look at this glass of orange juice, the oranges behind it. Is this picture human generated or human taken? Is it a photograph or is it AI? Really take a look at that. And if you're leaning one way or the other, be answering why. Why do you think that in your head? Okay. First one, this is AI. This is AI generated. And I will say, when you're not using humans, sometimes it's harder to tell because they try to add in the lens flares, they try to add in the shine of the glass, some reflection of the room. They do a great job. They even include those bubbles on there, right? Um, but some areas where it's just a little too perfect. If you look at that orange, it is almost a perfect circle. It's too perfect in a way. We've got some nice wood grain on the table as well, which is a usually an indicator that it is real, but we're tricky with this. So first image, this was AI. Going to our second, now we've got some people in here. Our people, is this a photograph or is this artificial intelligence? Be thinking. This is a photograph. I am so curious where they are in this picture. Like at first, I thought Mall of America with the inside plants, that dome, but that's a part of it, right? That's a part. Like where are they? You might be thinking this is AI just because of the scenery behind it, but nope. This one is real. And I was trying to look to be like, how do you know this is real? And as we get through our presentation, that's the hard part. It's instead of having to prove something is real, it's much easier to prove that something is fake, right? So what about this picture, this whiskey sour in front of some mountains? A lot of components in this, lots of things to look at. Okay. This picture, despite being beautiful, nearly perfect, this one is human generated. This is a photograph. So some things that you might be looking at. We don't have a lot of uniformity of the salt or the added flavor around the rim of this whiskey sour. That one drip of water that is on the deck, that's one indicator as well. Usually, I would assume the AI would kind of cut that out. But the parts of the mountain and the sun beaming down, bouncing off the water, those are almost too perfect, right? Almost too perfect. And then here's one, some young millennials walking through the mall. AI or real? This is our last one. This version, this one was AI generated. Some things to look at. If you look here in the middle, these two women, the way that their arm is posed is almost identical, right? It's almost identical, the way their arm is posed. If you look here at this man in the khaki pants and the green shirt, you've really got to zoom in on it. His tongue is sticking out a little bit, or his tongue is peeking through his teeth, where like his teeth almost look transparent. And then our friend in the back and right here on the side, their faces look a little distorted, just a little distorted. But you've really got to be on the lookout and you really have to look at it before you can tell. Okay, that was our quiz, friends. But now, how did the 540 respondents, how did they do? Let's flip it over to Kim to go through the results.
Thanks, Ryan. So for the first one, obviously, it was AI. Well, a lot of people did well for this image. 72% of the respondents guessed this correctly, that this was AI, with 21% being incorrect, and then the rest were not sure. So majority of respondents were able to identify this as AI. For this next image, which was human created, it was a photo that was taken. Respondents did didn't do as well. So 64% of respondents thought this was AI when it wasn't AI. 21% got this correct and were able to assume that this was a real image, with 5% being not sure. So this just goes to show that AI is getting really real. It's getting hard to determine what is AI and what's not. And we'll still be diving into that throughout, but especially in our next image here, which was again human created, 59% of respondents, so over half, chose AI for this image. So they also thought that this real image was AI. So a lot of these respondents chose AI on all of these, making the assumption or over-analyzing these images, trying to pick out and see what discrepancies are there and see why it's AI or why it's not. So again, these real images, a lot of respondents didn't get this correct. So 35% got this correct, and then 6% were not sure. For our last one, this one was the easiest out of all the images to identify, with 82% of the respondents identifying this as AI, the correct response, with only 14% incorrect. Again, even though 82% got this correct, there's still a smaller amount of people who do think that this is real. So it's getting harder to determine, and there's just a lot of things to look out for. And 4% were not sure. So in summary, AI is making the real look fake. It's just getting really hard to discern if the image is real. So some supporting insights, again, that last image, it was the easiest to identify. Ryan picked out some tells and why it was so easy to identify. But following with the other photo with the group of people, that was in the beginning, that was frequently mistaken for AI. So again, another group of people, and a lot of people thought this was AI. Following with that was the sunset drink. A lot of people also thought this was AI. And just adding all the responses together, looking at the accuracy rate, we see that everyone was just, all the answers together, only about 55% of respondents were correct in total. So just barely above chance. So it was almost 50-50 on whether people or not could discern if the image was AI or not. So that just goes to show that realistic still life photography, it's just getting harder for consumers to trust. Now, we're also going to break it down in between the two groups, like I had mentioned earlier. So for this first image, we see that marketers had a higher accuracy rate. They were able to determine that this image was AI more likely, about 80% of them, whereas non-marketers leaned more on that 50-50 side. Still, majority of them getting this correct. Next is the image of the group of people, whether they're in Mall of America or I thought it might have been a greenhouse. I'm not sure, but marketers actually did worse in this image. 73% of them thought that this was AI, whereas non-marketers, again, not great, but 50-50, still on the fence, but had a higher accuracy rate compared to marketers. So when you think of marketers, those who are in advertising, tech, or the marketing industry, they have interacted with AI on a daily basis. They're more like they have more knowledge about it, and they see it more often. So maybe they spent some time over analyzing this image, trying to pick out like, why this is AI. And whereas non-marketers probably just looked at this image and just took a chance on what they thought it was. So for the next image, which was again human created, marketers didn't do as well either. Non-marketers did better on this than the last photo, with about 60% getting this correct and choosing this is a real image. But again, this just reinforces the fact that marketers are starting to assume things are AI even when it's real. So majority of marketers did get this wrong. Lastly, this was the easiest image to identify. Marketers were highly confident and got 84% of them were able to guess this correctly, that this was AI, and non-marketers not too far behind them. So both groups did really well when it came to this image. So in summary, the more you know, the less you believe, right? So these marketers have more knowledge. They're seeing AI on a daily basis. So it's just getting harder for people to discern between different images. But some supporting insights for this is that marketers, they showed a higher confidence. In the beginning, about over 80% of them said that they could discern an image from AI or not. But when it came to the real images, they actually had a lower accuracy rate. They often labeled these images as AI, even though they were real. Whereas non-marketers, they were less confident, but they were more accurate when it came to the images that were real. Um, so that again shows that familiarity with AI, it seems to increase skepticism, seems to make people second guess or overanalyze and try to pick out little details to see why this is AI or not. And as AI improves, which it is always improving every day, technology, experts such as marketers, they even struggle to trust what's real.
And Kim, something I want to add to that, you mentioned that marketers they're kind of on the early curve of AI. They use it, they know how it works, they know how it exists, and they had a higher confidence. They thought they could spot it more, but they had lower accuracy. Right now, the non-marketers or the average consumer, they might not be as familiar with AI. But you've got noted here, like as people get more and more familiar with AI, the skepticism is only going to increase. So I hope that we don't see the numbers start shifting even closer to the lower accuracy as those non-marketers get as familiar with AI as marketers. But that skepticism, I think it's just going to keep growing and keep growing if your imagery and your videos are just too perfect.
Exactly. So for this next part of the survey, we asked where people saw AI, and right off the bat, consumers see AI everywhere. We asked them if they've recently or seen content that they suspect was AI, and nearly 9 in 10 respondents say that they have, like interacted with content that they thought was AI generated. And we also asked them where did they see this content? And social media was the top place where people suspect AI use. But following with that, they also said brand websites, ads, and news articles. Um, and then on top of that, we also asked, what kind of content was it? Visual content was the top contender, but it was followed by reviews and articles. And this is something to note as we typically think of reviews to be authentic, to be made by real people. So it's just getting scary that, consumers are seeing reviews or articles that they think should be written by a person, but can determine that this is AI. So that's huge there. And then, in summary, overall, this matters because, again, AI skepticism, it's habitual. People are looking for the details, even when they don't exist. But with this rising suspicion, it reflects, awareness and anxiety. Everyone's everywhere. Everyone's starting to think that AI is everywhere, on our phones, social media feeds, even on websites, as people have noted. But for brands, this just means that AI is not invisible. Again, people are picking bit by bit, and they are trying to determine if this is real or not. And again, the use of AI can affect the credibility and trust that your consumers have in the brand. So transparency is key. Obviously, people want to be upfront with the use of AI because once your consumers feel deceived, the trust collapses. Now, we are going to go over the opinions and thoughts on AI. So we also asked some questions about how they felt about AI use in marketing. And right off the bat, we see that about 2/3 of people they approve of it. They are on the more positive end, and seem to be okay with the use of AI in marketing. But again, this doesn't mean they're enthusiastic. It just means that their support is cautious. So they approve it, but you have to use it right. And just to reiterate, trust and transparency, they're the biggest factor when it comes to how people feel about the use of AI. Now, following with that, we also asked, how important is it that brands disclose the use of AI? And of course, majority say that it's important. very important or somewhat important, with over half saying that it's very important that that AI use is disclosed with their customers. Just to reiterate again, transparency builds trust. So when you're not upfront about using AI, it can feel dishonest, especially if the consumer themselves were able to figure out that it was created by generative AI. So again, most people want to know that AI is involved. And as we saw from the last slide, a lot of people are okay with the use of AI. They approve of it, but they want to know, even if they're okay. Next, we asked, if a brand uses AI, how likely are you to buy? And in this slide, we broke it down by marketers and non-marketers, again, just to show that there is a difference between the two groups, to show the polarity between them. We see that marketers have a stronger reaction. So about 40% said much more likely, following with 30% saying somewhat more likely. So this is about 70% of marketers saying that they are more likely to purchase a brand that uses AI. Something to disclose is that this question wasn't very specific. So something to consider is that maybe the marketers thought that they were talking about purchasing a software, rather than non-marketers were maybe thinking more of a product standpoint, or more of a consumerism standpoint, whereas they're looking at something to actually buy that's a physical, tangible product. But looking at the differences, non-marketers lean more neutral, with over 60% saying that they they're in the middle. They don't have a big opinion on whether or not the brand uses AI. But overall, for marketers, the use of AI is not a deal breaker, and it makes them more likely to purchase it. But for non-marketers, consumers, the impact is less direct, and it also depends on the situation, such as if it was a review or if it was just used to create the image and other things like that. Next, after that question, we also asked, have you ever changed your mind about a purchase after detecting AI use? And we also broke this down between marketers and non-marketers to show the polarity. Marketers were far more likely to let AI sway their wallets. So about 80% of marketers said that they have changed their mind after detecting that the brand or the product had used AI. This is kind of shows that marketers, they are able to detect if the image or whatever it was AI created, whereas non-marketers, they were more on the neutral side. About 50% of them said no, that the use of AI didn't change their behavior. Something I want to note is we also had an open-ended response after this, and I read a response, and it was funny because it was definitely a marketer who wrote this response, and they said that they were able to tell if the brand used AI or not, but sometimes they still want to go through with the purchase. And so then they said that they just roll their eyes as they're in the checkout. So that just goes to show that some people will still purchase it, but they know that it's AI. And so overall, marketers are more reactive, and then consumers are less affected by the use of AI.
And Kim, I want to remind everybody that while marketers, you said that marketer knows that something is AI, they'll just roll their eyes when they purchase it. Marketers are overconfident. They're a little cocky when it comes to it. Maybe it was an AI, buddy. Maybe it was an AI.
Exactly. Thanks, Ryan. So after that, we also asked if there were consequences for brands using AI carelessly, so not responsibly, just kind of using it however without any guidelines. And again, majority said yes. The consequences are real. A lot of people do believe that there will be reputational damage to brands that don't use it correctly, misuse it, and this can range from distrust between their customers or public backlash. This doesn't mean don't use AI. It means to use it responsibly. So making sure that you have guidelines set and that you are transparent in the way you use it. And now we're going to go over our open-ended analysis. So some of the questions that we asked, a lot of the questions we followed up with why they felt that way, why they felt about AI in marketing, but also these specific questions. What do you expect from a brand regarding its use of AI? And if there's anything else that they'd like to share about the use of AI in marketing and communications. So what we heard, AI is a trust test. People are on the positive side. They approve of it. Marketers are more likely to purchase it. People accept AI when it's transparent and used responsibly. Because when a brand hides the AI, it feels dishonest, and it just breaks that trust and between the customer and the brand. And something else that we heard is that things that were too perfect, it raised red flags and made people think that it was AI. And this just goes to show that the little flaws, it makes the content feel more human. And a lot of people said this also in their open-ended responses that AI is fine for efficiency, such as emails, chatbots, or making data analysis easier, but it's not a creative replacement. Brands that overuse AI, a lot of respondents said that it looked lazy or fake, and when they saw that the use was thoughtful, they also said it signaled innovation and integrity.
And when I see the part about brands that overuse AI, I do think back to when brands were photoshopping left and right. They were photoshopping different outfits, but whenever I think of the overuse, I go to Amazon or even like the Gap, where it's the same model and they're wearing the same shirt, right? They're wearing one shirt, but they want to show all the different colors that the shirt can come in, so they just poorly Photoshop that shirt in red, a crazy print, in green, in a different print. It doesn't throw me off, but I wish I could see how the shirt actually looks. Like, sure, it's the same cut, it's the same style, but is it? Is it? And I would just love to be able to see the real photography of how that would look. But overuse, overuse.
Yeah, and even there's some Amazon listings where, again, they do that, but in the reviews, it's a completely different dress or it's a
Yeah.
completely different outfit. So, and it looks just way different from the photo that was used. So, exactly. So, what this all means for brands? Well, again, transparency is super important. It helps build trust within your with your customers directly, builds that credibility. And with this, AI use can reflect a brand. So, what this means is that the way that you use AI can reflect your values, effort, and authenticity. So, when it's used, carelessly, not responsibly, it can look not authentic, and it doesn't really look good for the brand itself. But overall, consumers expect the brands to disclose the use of AI openly and also use it as a tool, not a shortcut. So they want to keep that human touch in the creative aspects. So storytelling, visuals, they want to make sure that it's authentic and that, again, some flaws in there so that, people know that it is not AI and it was created by a person. So I'm going to pass this to Ryan to wrap this up.
Now, remember, this is not a quiz. This is not a quiz, but we did just cover a lot of information, and we wanted to make sure that you had the core information, the data behind all of that, right? This is market research. These takeaways and all of our conclusions, they really are drawn in data. So while we might have went through that really quickly, really the top 5 things that you can leave with are these. One, now with how popular AI is, people assume that things are AI. It's now no longer, oh, is that maybe AI? No, they assume it's AI and they're double checking to see if it's real. Now, this is coming from brands, right? This isn't you seeing your aunt's photos of her in front of the Statue of Liberty and being like, is that real or is that not? Really, this is coming from marketers and brands. People assume that your marketing now leverages AI. Although I did use AI to remove all of the other people of my mom. She went to New York, took a picture in front of the Statue of Liberty, and she's like, "There's so many people there." We used AI to remove them. So maybe do second guess some pictures that you see on Facebook. But people assume things are AI, both marketers and non-marketers. Maybe marketers a little bit more. And marketers, because they know what AI can do, because they know the tells, they're a little bit more critical, right? They make those assumptions a little more freely than others, and they might roll their eyes when they purchase anyway, or they might just overassume that things are AI. And if they are someone that AI matters to them, then that might mean that they're not purchasing your products. But people or consumers and marketers as a whole, they are not rejecting AI. That was really great to hear. We wanted to ensure that that was the case before we continue to leverage AI in some of our materials. So great to hear that. But the hypothesis that we really wanted to lean in on this authenticity. Authenticity is something that Genoa has been preaching in marketing since day one, right? It started in social media. It started in photography. Then it moved into social media, things not being too polished, letting people see behind the scenes, etc. But authenticity still really matters, especially to prove that something isn't AI. Let things be not as polished, right? When we're working with clients on videos, there is a purpose for that highly overproduced, super polished video, but we're encouraging our clients to let people in a little bit more. Let people in a little bit more. They may be thinking, oh, we need this to be cinematic, overproduced. But when it comes down to it, we want your marketing to work, right? We want your marketing to work. So letting in some of that unpolished material, and unpolished isn't bad, right? And authenticity still shines. That really came through with our responses. And I think my favorite note that Kim added in, brands that lean carelessly on AI come across as cheap. If somebody is just throwing things out, creating a whole bunch of content, creating AI slop, as they're calling it now, online, and just publishing and cranking it out, that comes off as careless. That's careless AI use, and that makes your brand look sloppy. And we don't want our clients' brands, we don't want any brands to look sloppy because that's spam. And spam makes the space too noisy for all of us. So key takeaways here. Here is your top 5 bullet points. You can screenshot this and share it with your team right off the bat. But know that this presentation and all of this is going to be coming our way, or your way from us following this. You'll get the recording, you'll get the slides, and you'll also get a link to the dashboard. And a lot of these screenshots that you saw in here, our graphs and everything, those are pulled directly from the dashboard that Kim made. So I encourage you to look at it. Now, we didn't put everything in this webinar. There are still some questions. If you're curious, you can see how that breaks down between marketers and non-marketers alike. You can dig into that dashboard and really see how it all works. But thank you for joining us. And I want to add a plug. Right? I want to add a plug. If you are thinking about how you can use AI to leverage your business or how you can leverage AI in your business, Denovo can help. AI is something that I've been really interested in over the years, and we have helped clients implement AI into their systems, not even just generative AI, leveraging AI as a whole. So if you're starting your AI exploration journey, we can Sherpa and guide you along in that way. I call it AI curious to AI capable. So if you are currently AI curious and want to chat AI, reach out. Would love to talk with you more about that. Another piece that I'm just going to add in when we start talking about AI usage in companies, something that is really important is creating an AI policy. We have talked several times. We've got a blog up on our site about creating AI policies, and then just adding some guidelines to your AI usage at your business, and that is around security. The data that goes into AI, where does that go? Right? You have to be thinking of that. An AI policy is also really helpful to provide some guardrails for your employees around that too, and just let them know your stance on AI. Give them some solace when they see the word AI. They're not thinking it's coming for their jobs or anything like that. The other thing I do want to plug, Denovo hosts a quarterly marketing professionals peer group. It is called Working Title. It is, like I said, one morning a quarter. We meet, we pull about 40 to 50 people together. They are marketing professionals in the area, and we talk about a given topic. Our inaugural Working Title was about AI usage in marketing, right? It was about AI usage. Then our latest one was about crisis communications and PR. We are in the works of planning our next one. So In that follow-up email, you'll get a link to sign up for Working Title if you are in the Cedar Rapids, Iowa City area. We would love to have you. It's hosted in our Ideas Institute, but a lot of marketing professionals outside of DeNovo come to that, and it's been great to have some community around marketing. And if you liked this webinar, please subscribe and listen to Think Fresh, a podcast by DeNovo Marketing. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it really wherever you listen to podcasts. I get it delivered to my phone every month on Apple. And our latest episode is actually with Kim, going over just what we talked about today. But we talk about a whole lot of other stuff. Usually we try to pick a different topic each month, from video production to website design to SEO. We cover the gamut. Next month, we are going to be talking about trust in marketing. So be on the lookout for that. We can send the latest episode along with this, just so you've got it. Now, I said that we would be about 45 minutes, and we're coming out pretty close. So I want to open it up to questions. Feel free to send these questions through in the chat, or if you can't think of any now, know that you can always reach out to us with those after the fact. We'd love to chat through everything. I'm realizing now that I actually can't even see a chat or anything along those lines. So I'm curious. Are we getting any activity? And it's fine if not. But I've only got Kim, my face, and our thank you screen that I can see.
We had an inquiry about the AI policy, the blog post. So we'll find that and send that out in the follow-up email as well, Christy. Maribeth says, thanks, Kim and Ryan.
Oh,
Ash
yes.
Yes, Christy, we'll get that your way. Any
Well,
questions, comments? Was anything surprising that you guys heard today?
ooh, I am curious. Did anyone get a 100% on the quiz when we were going through that? How'd everyone do? I'm curious. Admittedly, when we were developing this, Kim passed some of these images through to me. I didn't get 100%. I was one of those that assumed a lot of things were AI. I think I got a 75. I got a 75. The picture of the orange juice in front of the mountains, that one got me. That one got me.
Christy got 3 out of 4. Megan got a 50%.
Okay,
Hey,
okay.
those are all passing.
Exactly. All right, everyone. Well, again, thank you for spending your lunch hour with us. We will be sending this all through to you, and stay curious. AI is going to be changing rapidly, so stay curious, stay on top of it, and be in the loop. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day.